morning, students. Students, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes,
Previously,
sir.
we discussed about plant succession. What is plant succession and what are the types of plant succession and classification of plant succession that we discussed yesterday, right? And now I am going to introduce one of the plant succession, that is a HYDROSERE. That is very important area. So please listen. HYDROSERE. Hydro means water. Here there are two words are either. Hydro means water, and sere means a series of community, plant community. A serial of community, plant community, plant communities. So there is a transitional changes in the vegetation of water body, like a pond, stream, lake, pool, etc. So that is called a HYDROSERE. Now, HYDROSERE, it is one of the plant succession in which there is a transitional changes or occurring in the vegetation of water bodies which are replaced by one another. So that's why I mentioned there is a successive replacement of various vegetation one after another. Such a stage is known as the HYDROSERE. HYDROSERE is nothing but it is one of the plant succession in which there is a successive replacement of plant communities which are replaced by one another in an ecosystem that is called HYDROSERE. Dear students, what is HYDROSERE? Try to follow me. HYDROSERE is a type of plant successor in which there is a successive replacement of a series of plant community by one another. That is called HYDROSERE. Okay. The HYDROSERE, it consists of, there are several stages in which replacement of one type of community by another type of plant community, right? That is called the HYDROSERE. So such a replacement of various vegetation, right, in various seasons, they are replaced by one another in a water body, right, like a pond or pool, stream, lake, whatever it may be, right? That is called the HYDROSERE. Okay. Now this HYDROSERE, it consists of, there are seven stages. There are several stages are involved in HYDROSERE in order to begin with the pioneers of plant community and ends with the climax community, right? If you take any zere, whether HYDROSERE or XEROSERE or whatever it may be, it is always invaded by a group of organisms in a barren place, right? That is called simply pioneer. Now here, every HYDROSERE begins with pioneer and ends with climax community. I mean, by the establishment of forest, right? So that is called HYDROSERE. So every zere consists of, there are several stages, such as I can say 7 stages are involved, right? So let me point out one by one. As I said, there are several stages which are involved in the development of various plant community in a barren place, right? So the first one is the Phytoplankton stage. The first stage is the Phytoplankton stage. Phytoplankton. Second one, submerged categories, submerged stage. submerged stage, right? Then third stage is submerged free floating stage. Submerged free floating stage. Free floating stage, right? Then fourth one is reed swam stage. The fourth one is reed swam stage. I'll explain later, right? One by one, right? First of all, I want to list out what are the stages which are involved in the development of various plant community in a barren place. I have taken a pond ecosystem in which what is initiated first, then what is invaded, and what is replaced, then what is entered at the end of our final stage of establishment of various community, right? In Climax Community, right? I have taken only 4 stages, and I'd like to mention remaining 3 stages. The 5th stage is mash meadow stage. 5th stage is mash meadow stage. Right? Then 6th one. The 6th stage is shrub stage. Shrub stage. As I said, in HYDROSERE, there are 7 stages are involved in the replacement of successive replacement of a group of plant community which are replaced by one another, right? So I have taken a 6th stage, that is a shrub stage. Then finally 7th stage is a forest stage. Forest stage. It is also known as a climax stage. What is it called? Climax stage. Now, dear students, am I audible? Do you understand what it means? My dear students, could you list out the 7 stage of plant communities which are replaced by one another in HYDROSERE?
Phytoplankton stage, submerged plant stage.
Generally, how many stages are there? Simply
7 stages.
Very good. What are they?
Phytoplankton stage, submerged plant stage, submerged free floating stage, red swamp stage, marsh meadow stage,
Very good.
shrub stage, forest stage.
Very good. Very good. So they are the several stages which are involved in every plant succession. If you take HYDROSERE, there will be 7 stages involved. If you take zeros here, there will be also involved 7 stages. So whatever it may be, if you take any stages, any plant succession, they may consist of these following stages, right? Okay, first of all, let me take phytoplankton stage. What is it exactly? Actually, it is the first stage of establishment of plant community in a barren place. So let me take, dear student, the first one is the phytoplankton stage. Phytoplankton. You know very well, phytoplanktons are nothing but it is a unicellular organism may occupy in a barren place, right? Such as blue-green algae. Then second category is the green algae. The third one is the bacteria. So all these organisms may occupy in a barren place. This is a first stage. It is a first stage of establishment of new plant community in a barren place. Now I'm going to represent a pond ecosystem. Now this is a pond. Just imagine it is a pond. It is newly fulfilled with the rainwater. Okay, just imagine it is a pond. In the pond, how these plants are established newly, then what is replaced one by another, then how it is replaced, right? So let me represent. If you take a pond ecosystem in which there will be no presence of living organism, like any other algae or fungi or bacteria or whereas any other organism, right? So it is newly created by establishment of some blue-green algae, some green algae, some bacteria may occupy, may algae in the barren place, right? So this is called a phytoplankton stage. Actually, phytoplankton stage is established by the formation of blue-green algae, green algae, and bacteria. It is a first stage, and it is also known as it is an inverter in a barren place as a first stage. Now, this is beginning with these type of organisms. It is known as a phytoplankton stage, right? So always every zero, HYDROSERE or HYDROSERE, which begins with pioneers, right? Pioneer. No, pioneer is nothing but it is the most primitive form, or it is an initial stage of development of plant community in a barren place. No, that is called a pioneer. No, pioneer is nothing but it is a beginning stage of a plant community which is invaded by blue-green algae, green algae, bacteria. So they may start an initial stage for the development of plant communities in a particular area that I have taken pond. The pond is occupied by initially by the presence of some blue-green algae and green algae and bacteria. Hence, these blue-green algae and the green algae and bacteria are considered to be as a pioneer, right? In a pond ecosystem, which of the following is considered to be as a pioneer of plant communities? Dear students, do you understand? Which of the following is known as a pioneer of HYDROSERE?
Phytoplankton stage.
Will you give an example for phytoplankton stage?
Blue-green algae.
Very good. Blue-green algae,
Bacteria.
green algae, and bacteria. Very good. Hence, these organisms, if they are beginning with the phytoplankton stage, they are commonly called, they are commonly known as the pioneer. Repeat the term.
Pioneer.
Pioneer. What do you understand about pioneer? Simply, it is the
They are
first.
the first.
Pioneer is a stage which is initiated by the presence of unicellular organism. That is a pioneer stage. It is the first stage of establishment of plant community. And later on, these established plant communities are replaced by one another by formation of new organism. So these phytoplankton stage also it is going to be replaced by formation of next category, some rooted plant, etc. Okay, so this is a stage of the phytoplankton stage. Okay, shall we move for next topic? As I said, it is a phytoplankton stage. It is occupied by only unicellular organism. Okay, right. Now next we pass on to second stage. That is a submerged stage. The second category is a submerged stage. Submerged stage. I'm talking about the second stage of HYDROSERE. Which of the following is a second stage of HYDROSERE? That is a question. Dear student, please answer. Which of the following is a second stage of
Plant stage.
Submerged plant stage.
Very good. Now, if we take a pond, now this is a pond where you see, because we are going to discuss about HYDROSERE. It is nothing but a representation of plant communities which are replaced by one another by several stages, right? Okay, due to flowing of rainwater continuously, the rainwater which is collected from various places and stored in a pond. Just imagine. And the soil, the level of the soil in the pond ecosystem is gradually increased, right? Due to storing of soil by rainwater, what will happen is the depth of the pond ecosystem is gradually decreased, right? Hence, it forms some rooted plants. I like to mention some rooted plants such as some Cara, and one more category, Utricularia, Cara, Utricularia, Wallisneria, right? And Hydrilla. So, due to the death of phytoplankton stage, in first stage, continuously unicellular organisms are occupied in the surface of a pond ecosystem. After death and decay matter of phytoplankton stage, what will happen? The death and decay matter of phytoplanktons are decomposed by bacteria and they are settled at the bottom of the pond ecosystem. As a result, the soil of pond ecosystem which gets enrichment of nutrients and humus. As a result, new establishment of some rooted plant, particularly you can say some Cara and Utricularia, Wallisneria, Hydrilla. So these plants are originated naturally by the death of phytoplankton organism in a pond ecosystem, right? So this is a second stage. So from the soil of a pond ecosystem, you can find some organism or originator, right? This is a second stage where you find various organisms rooted. They are Wallisneria, Hydrilla, Cara plant, and Utricularia. The Utricularia, it may be floating on the surface of water, and the Cara also initiated in the soil shallow of the pond ecosystem, and Wallisneria and the Hydrilla are originated by the formation of soil. Actually, when flowing of soil or rainwater continuously into the pond, what will happen? The mud which becomes loosening. So hence this rooted plants are initiated in the second stage of HYDROSERE. So here, dear student, please expect some questions here. Which of the following plant is an example of submerged stage? I have given 4 plants. Please list out. Which of the following plant is an example of submerged stage? Yes, student.
Hydrilla, Wallisneria, Utricularia, Cara.
Very good. Very good. Actually, how these plants are originated? By death of phytoplankton. If a unicellular organism died in the pond ecosystem, what will happen? They are decomposed by bacteria. Hence, the soil of pond ecosystem which gets more nutrients. Hence, the soil which becomes loosening, and from the loosening soil, roots are initiated. Understand? So this is a possibilities for the development of submerged stage in hydrosea. Now, did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay, next we pass to the third stage. I'm talking about the third stage. That is nothing but a submerged free floating stage. I'm talking about third stage. They are submerged. Submerged free floating stage. Free floating. Already we have discussed the free floating stages, right? There are several types there in which sometimes rooted floating. Some members, actually, this is a stage of hydrosea. I'm talking about the submerged free floating stage. It is a third stage. First of all, it is a third stage, right? Okay. And this stage is replaced by death of second stage. Actually, the death of, simply I can say, the death and decay. Death and decay of submerged plant. Submerged plants, new plants are originated in a pond ecosystem, right? So almost when the pond, so when continuously the death and decay matter of a second stage, submerged stage in pond ecosystem, what will happen is the depth of the water body becomes 2 to 5 feet. 2 to 5 feet, right? It becomes 2 to 5 feet. So as a result, by the formation of rooted floating, some plants are contacted with the mud, they are rooted and their leaves are floating on the surface. Hence, they are known as a rooted floating. So I like to mention some rooted floating, Nelpo nympia. There are two plants I want to mention here. Rooted floating. One is a Nelumbo plant. Nelumbo and nympia. One more category. It's a nympia plant. Nympia. Nelumbo and nympia plant. And next, some members are also freely floating on the surface of water body. They are freely floating. Simply freely floating plants. I like to mention there are so many examples that we have discussed already, right? Zola. Do you recall Azolla? Lemna plant, and Wolfia. Right? Could you remember, dear students? Pistia. Could you recall Pistia plant? Pistia, Zola, Lemna, Wolfia. What are they? They are the free-floating hydrophytes. Now, dear student, did you understand about free-floating hydrophytes? Could you give an example for free-floating hydrophytes? Dear students, did you understand?
Azolla, Lemna, Ulfia, Pistia.
Very good, very good, really good. Already we have discussed about free-floating hydrophytes, rooted floating hydrophytes, submerged category. Understand? So these organisms may be occupied, may be invaded. Well, in third stage of hydrosea, we are discussing about third stage. That is a submerged free-floating, stage, in which both rooted plant as well as free-floating plants are also invaded in a pond ecosystem, right? So simply you can say there is a submerged floating stage that represents by Nelumbo, Nympia, Azolla, Lemna, Wolfia. Sometimes you can expect from the content, right? Which of the following is a free-floating hydrophyte? Which of the following is an example of rooted floating hydrophytes? So, can you give an example for rooted floating hydrophytes? Nelumbo, dear students?
Nelumbo nymphia.
Nelumbo and Nymphia.
Nilambo, Nymphia, Trappa.
Very good, very good. So these are the example of free floating, rooted floating, and free floating. Okay, let me take fourth topic is I'm talking about fourth stage of HYDROSERE. We are dealing at different stages of HYDROSERE. So that I have taken fourth stage, that is a reed swamp stage. That is nothing but a reed swamp. Now, reed swamp stage, it is a stage of HYDROSERE. It is nothing but, it is also known as an amphibious stage. It is also known as amphibious. Amphibious, amphi, that means it shows a dual character. Shows dual character. It shows both aquatic character and aerial. So this is an amphibious category that shows both characteristic features. One is aquatic. One is aquatic characters and another one is aerial character. That means the root is fixed with the soil and their branches, leaves are contacted with the atmosphere. Right? So this is called the amphibious category. I would like to mention some amphibious. Actually, how this reed swamp stage is invaded in fourth stage of HYDROSERE, because due to death of third stage that we have discussed, the submerged floating stage, due to death of this third stage, these plants are replaced by establishment of new plant community. That's why I mentioned there is a transitional changes which are occurring by replacement of a group of community by a group of another community of plant. So in third stage that we have discussed the submerged free floating, after death of these submerged free floating stage, what will happen? These plants are decomposed with the bacteria and the soil which gets nutrition, and they are cycled right from soil to atmosphere. Again, the formation of new organism. So this replacement of re-establishment of reed swamp stage, as a result we can get by the formation of amphibious categories, such as that means the plant that shows both characteristic features. They are aquatic characters and then aerial character. Now I'd like to mention some example for amphibious category, right? The first example is the Sagittaria. Already we have discussed about amphibious category, right? Relentless, Sagittaria, etc. So first of all, let me represent Typha plant. Typha. And second one is a Sagittaria. The Sagittaria is an example of amphibious category, right? And one more example I can say, Phragmites. Phragmites. Phragmites, right? So this is another plant that shows amphibious characteristic features, right? Its root is fixed with the mud and its leaves or branches are extended just beyond the surface of the water body. Hence, that shows that gives rise to form two different characteristics of morphological character. So hence, these plants which gives rise to form two different leaves also. One is aquatic leaf, another is aerial leaves, right? The aquatic leaves are descended in nature and the aerial leaves are entirely grown, right? In the Phragmites and Sagittaria type of plant, right? One more example I want to mention, that is cypress. Cypress. This is a plant of amphibious category. Now, dear student, please understand, I have given 4 plants. They are the example of amphibious category. Could you give an example for amphibious category or reed swamp stage? Can you give?
Typha, Phragmites.
Only female students are only answering. What about boys? My dear students. Did you understand what I asked you? Okay, anyway, no problem. Right. Okay. Shall I go for next topic?
Yes, sir.
Right. So sometimes you can expect write down some important amphibious category. It is as you are right, Typhus, Sagittaria, Phragmites, and Cyprus, right? They are the example of reed sperm stage. What is that? It is a stage of HYDROSERE in which the third submerged categories are replaced by establishment of new categories of plant like Typhus, Sagittaria, Phragmites, and Cyprus. They are the organism may occupy, may impact in fourth stage, that is a reed sperm stage. Okay. Next we pass on the fifth stage, that is a mash mid stage. I am talking about the fifth stage. That is a mash meadow. Right? Marsh meadow stage. Actually, what is it? It is one of the stages of HYDROSERE in which the death and decay nature of amphibious category. As a result, the soil which gets more humus. The soil which gets more humus, and as a result, the formation of some members of Cypress family, Cypraceae family. Some members of Cypraceae and Poaceae, I mean grass families. Cypraceae family and the Poaceae family are originator in marsh meadow stage. It is one of the stage. I mean fifth stage of HYDROSERE, which are replaced by one another. This is one of the transitional changes may occur in the vegetation of a marsh meadow stage. Actually, these organisms are replaced by previous organism. That is what we discussed. That is a amphibious stage. So after end of this amphibious stage, the new plants are originated, such as successive transitional. This also occurs in fifth stage. So as a result, we can get a cypress and a Poaceae. So I like to mention some example of cypress, right? The first one is a carex. The first one is I like to mention some example of cypress and Poaceae. The one is the carex plant, and the second one is Juncus. Juncus, one of the vegetational member plant community. And one more category I want to mention, that is a cypress plant. Cypress, and one more category, Heliocarex. That is a Heliocarex. So these are all the members of Cypress and Poaceae family, right? Actually, this is an organism may be invaded, which are invaded in marsh meadow stage, right? After replacement of amphibious category such as carex, Juncus, Cypress, Heliocarex. Understand? What are they actually? What are they? Yes, students. Carex, Juncus, Cypresses. What are they? What do you understand about this? They are the
Species of
very good.
Cypercacia and Poaceae.
Species of Cypress who is member, and these plant community which are established right in fifth stage. That is a marsh meadow stage. Understand? Okay. Next we pass. Just imagine now this is a
Yes, sir.
pond in which you can say some plants are originated, right? Just imagine this is a plant community in which I'd like to show you. I'll show you later at last, right? That is a marsh meadow stage. I'll show you later. Okay, the next stage is a sixth stage, that is a shrub stage. Shrub stage. I'm talking about one of the stages of HYDROSERE, that is a shrub stage. Which of the following stage is a HYDROSERE? Right? Which of the following stage is a sixth stage of HYDROSERE? That is the question mark. Dear student, please understand which of the following stage is a sixth stage of HYDROSERE.
Shrub
Shrub
stage.
stage.
Now just imagine shrubs will be a plant which grows up to 10 feet, right? If you go to forest, you can see small bushes. The small bushes may occupy a particular area. So you just imagine now this is a pond ecosystem, right? After a development of various plant community which are replaced by one another, after several years, what will happen? There is pond ecosystem which are occupied by transitional changes may occur by establishment of various plant community like bushes. Here you can see a small bushes. Understand? So a variety of organisms are originated. They occupy almost all the area of pond ecosystem, right? The pond is covered by or established by or invaded by several bushes, right? That is several shrubs. So now I want to give some shrubs which are occupied in a pond ecosystem. The first one is Atrocarpus. The first category is Atrocarpus. I'd like to mention some example they occupy in that stage, right? Carnex, Salix, right? Hydrous, Salix, Alex. These are all the example of shrubs and azer. Salix and azer that you can understand, right? These are all the plants are occupied in shrub stage. And last we are going to discuss that is a climax community or a forest stage. I'm talking about the seventh stage. It is a climax community or something can say forest stage. It is a final stage. It is a final stage of a plant community, right? This plant community or the pond which was initiated by peonies like a blue-green algae and which are replaced by the formation of several organisms. Finally, a pond has been occupied by this forest stage. It is a final stage that consists of several trees. Several trees you can see, right? They are Atrocarpus, Cinemax, etc. So these are all the plants which are occupied in forest stage. So it is occupied by rainforest. It is occupied by rainforest and tropical forest. In tropical forest and deciduous forest. Deciduous. So there are several categories. In deciduous, talking about deciduous, bamboos, right? Bamboos and the Tectona grandis. Tectona. It is called in Tamil teku, right? Bamboos. It's called in Tamil mungil, right? Bamboos and Tectona have been also occupied by seventh stage. That is a forest stage, right? Talking about the tropical forest. The tropical forest also occupied by the presence of Atrocarpus. One of the plant, Atrocarpus. This is one of the tree which is occupied in seventh stage. That is a forest stage, right? And one more example, the forest, right? A tropical forest I can see. That is a cinnamon. 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 So it is one of the tree which is also occupied by this plant, and not only that, it is also occupied by ulmus plant. Ulmus plant, it is one of the plant, not the tree. Ulmus plant and Acer plant is a parachutic plant, is and a Quercus. So these are all the trees or occupied. Actually, this is a stage in which re-establishment of trees, which are replaced by forest stage, right? Actually, the salix and the humus, when these plants are dead after completion of life cycle of salix and humus, what will happen? New plants are established by the formation by invest, right? We have discussed there are several stages, right? So thank you for joining, my dear students. If there is any doubt, please ask. Now I would like to show you there are several stages are there. Just I'd like to represent. Now you can understand, right? So far we have discussed only this is a stage that we have discussed. If you represent the stage, if you take a small pond, right, it is replaced by as it is the first stage. Just imagine this is a stage number 1. Dear student, just imagine it is a stage number 1, that is a phytoplankton stage, right? And the second category is a submerged stage, and third one is a floating, submerged floating stage, and fourth stage is swamp stage, right? You can say the depth of the pond has been gradually decreased by the presence of various organisms. So that's why I mentioned there is a transitional changes by establishment of several plant communities which are replaced by one another. So when you come across, you can say the several stages of HYDROSERE. In first stage, some unicellular organisms are floating on the surface. In second stage, some rooted plants are initiated in submerged stage. In third stage, rooted as well as floating on the surface of water body of a pond, right? You can see the root is fixed with the mud and the branches leaves are floating. This is a third stage. Whereas in fourth stage, the depth of the pond has been gradually fulfilled, decreased by deposition of soil, silt, which is brought from various places by rainwater. Hence, the depth of the water has become very low. Hence, the soil which becomes loosening. Hence, the formation of several categories in marshy places, marshy and meadow categories, right? In which you can see the surface of pond has been fulfilled with the silt water soil, and by the formation of cypress and poaceae, right? Hydrous, Climax, etc. So finally, the last stage is a climax community. The last stage is a climax community or forest stage. Now here you have to imagine, just understand, dear student, please imagine, this is a stage where you can see very big trees. Actually, the first stage is initiated by blue-green algae, green algae and blue-green algae, and one more bacteria. Then finally, these series of transitional changes which are replaced by one another, and finally the pond has been established by the formation of large trees. This is called a climax community. What is it called? Climax. Or climax community is also known as the forest stage. What is it called? Forest stage. Now, dear students, did you understand? This is a topic that I have discussed with you, right? Just imagine if we take a pond in which there are several stages are involved. Understand? Any doubt regarding this topic, dear students? Shall I ask some question? Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Then what is established in climax community as compared with the first stage?
Large trees.
Large trees, large number of trees. Is it okay? What is grown? What is replaced in final stage, ma? Trees or shrubs?
Water. Shrub.
Ma, in climax community or seventh stage, just compare stage number 1 of HYDROSERE with the stage number 7. On seeing the structure, you can find in phytoplankton stage there will be unicellular organism, whereas in climax or seventh stage you can see very big trees are established in a pond. The place is same. The place is a common. It is the same. But the vegetations are only replaced by one another after several years. Understand? So this is called a HYDROSERE. Any doubt?
No, sir.
Right.
No, sir.
Now I'm going to give you some home assignment. Please take note. Right. Thank you for joining. And try to prepare all the questions. What I'm going to give you is a home assignment. Try to prepare and try to concentrate. Try to write in your botany note. Right. Thank you for joining.